Hoaxes. By definition, they are, let's face it, lies that are told in order to mislead somebody. Hoaxes and rumors can be spread by anyone, anywhere, about anything. And you know who spreads the most rumors? Children! My cousins would tell me stories about how they found secret items in Luigis Mansion, and my friends would share rumors at lunch about how to unlock hidden characters in Super Smash Bros. Melee. The internet was beginning to take off around this time, and I spent a lot of my elementary school years scrolling through old forums that further convinced me that my games were chock full of secrets that I just wasn't skilled enough to find. I will admit, I was a very gullible child, and I believed just about anything I read, so I hope that my stupidity in youth brings you some entertainment. These are 5 video game hoaxes that I believed as a kid. Luigi's Mansion was one of my all-time favorite games as a child, and honestly, it still is. The mansion, the ghosts, and even the UI is all so charming. Not to mention the gameplay is responsive and satisfying. I've spent hours roaming the halls of this haunted house, and when I was a kid, it truly felt like this mansion was alive. Anything was possible in my child mind since the mansion was already so chock full of mind-bending secrets. My cousins lived right next door to me, and whenever I would visit them, we would take turns playing Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. My cousin told me that if I were to play through the Hidden Mansion mode, that I would encounter new ghosts, including, specifically, a cat ghost. If you played through the game before, you're aware that there is a dog ghost, so to my little kid brain, it was like, oh my gosh, there's a cat ghost. Anyways, the ghost was supposedly hidden in the second-story hallway behind the boarded-up door. The only problem is that you apparently needed to find a hammer to open this door with, and the only way to see the hammer was to go into first-person mode and look at the fourth wall of each room in the mansion until you eventually found it hanging on the wall. Now, this is a ridiculous claim, since this boarded-up door actually leads to the hidden room accessible via the chimney on the roof. The first time I had beat the game, though, I didn't discover how to get into the room, so of course I believed my cousin, thinking it was a post-game secret. So I spent many hours looking at the fourth walls of every room in the house. Eventually, I learned the real way to get inside the sealed room, and I was very disappointed at the extreme lack of cat ghosts. If you have never heard of Herobrine before, back in the early days of Minecraft, players used to report seeing a Steve-like character with glowing white eyes appearing just at the edge of their render distance. He would just be kind of standing there, out of reach in the fog, or watching from behind a tree. After players witnessed this strange figure, weird structures would start to appear in people's worlds. Most namely the infamous 2x2 tunnels and the pyramids in the middle of the ocean. But thinking back on it, the world generation in old Minecraft was probably totally bugging out and producing these weird structures. The game was still pretty new, and it would make sense that these things happen from time to time. Herobrine's stories were becoming exponentially popular whenever I started playing Minecraft, and you couldn't go anywhere on YouTube without finding Herobrine sighting videos. This kind of stuff terrified me as a kid, and I had had my own experiences with these phenomena that had convinced me that this hoax was real. Part of the legend stated that you could build a shrine to Herobrine out of netherrack and gold, and you could get him to haunt your world. I did this a few times, and I had genuinely convinced myself that an entity was messing with me. That still didn't stop me from trying to repeatedly summon the elusive Herobrine, however, but little did I know, he was just the equivalent of a ghost story told around the campfire. What about you guys? Did you ever have any Herobrine experiences whenever you guys were growing up? Tell me about it in the comment section below. Pokemon is a cornerstone of many gamers' childhoods, and I'm sure all of us at one point or another has fallen victim to rumors or hoaxes that have to do with the games. For me, my first Pokemon game that I personally owned was Pokemon Pearl for the Nintendo DS. This was right around the time that I first started to get on the internet, and I was looking up videos that had to do with the game when I came across this video claiming there was a way to get 999 Master Balls with a neat little exploit. Basically, you would stand in a specific patch of dirt next to the Eternal Forest, and you would walk in a specific pattern. I don't quite remember what the steps were, but it was like right, down, left, right, up, left, or something. And then you would check your items, and voila! Infinite Master Balls. It goes without saying that this video was just some guy splicing together his footage. He had one clip of himself walking in a random pattern, and then he would open the menu to show his totally legit master balls. Needless to say that I spent way too long playing around in the dirt outside of Eternal Forest, and in the time that it took me to realize that I was tricked, I could have caught every Pokemon in Sinnoh legit. I think that in elementary school, everyone knew that one kid that would lie about the most outlandish things for no reason whatsoever. You know, the kid that would say his uncle worked at Nintendo or whatever. Well, in my case, my friend in 3rd grade, let's call him Terrence, convinced me that there were all sorts of hidden secrets in my favorite game at the time, Super Smash Bros. Melee. One day during recess, we were talking about unlockable characters, and I said, "Wouldn't it be neat if Sonic was a fighter in Melee?" And Terrence goes, "Actually, he is." What? So is Tails. What? Yeah, you have to beat 15 fighters in Cruel Melee to get Sonic, and if you beat 25 of them, you get Tails. Now, if you don't know what Cruel Melee is, this is basically the experience that you'll have whenever you try it. Yeah, it's not very easy at all. Now, after Terrence told me about these secret fighters, I'll admit that even back then, I was a little skeptical about his claims. So I took to the internet, which at the time wasn't the best for getting information about video games, and I quickly found very convincing images of Sonic and Tails right there on the Smash Melee selection menu. It made so much sense to my child brain because they were occupying the blank spaces at the bottom left and right corners of the menu, and seeing this edited picture 100% convinced me that these gaming icons were hidden somewhere in the game, and I spent countless hours trying to unlock them. Unfortunately though, this was a nasty trick. Sonic and Tails were never in the game in the first place, much like this other feature that Terrence convinced me of. Now, he told me that if I unlocked every single trophy in the game, and then got 100 kills on Cruel Melee, I would gain access to a hidden menu called, quote, the Bro Roaster. I think he meant Bro Roster, but when I tried to correct him, he insisted that he meant Roaster. Gaining access to the Bro Roaster meant that you could create your own characters with whatever special abilities you wanted. And I excitedly spent the rest of the day writing down different ideas for fighters that I wanted to play as in Smash. Knowing me, I probably wanted to play as SpongeBob or Spider-Man or something, which is pretty cringe. But it's also kind of ironic whenever you consider the fighting games that we have nowadays. But needless to say, I was never able to create my own custom characters in Melee, and neither were you. Fistful of Frags is a lesser-known Steam game that was released back in the year 2014. It's a multiplayer cowboy shooter in which you can use a variety of weapons from pistols to shotguns to lever-action rifles, even bows and hatchets. The combat is usually close range in small corridors and buildings, but whenever there were outdoor sections, they would tend to be pretty spacious. The hoax spawned from this game was that if someone in a match achieved a 20 kill streak with a specific weapon, that they could unlock a golden reskin of that weapon. Now, this hoax was one that I actually started in my friend group in an attempt to trick them into tryharding, so then I could come along and end their kill streaks and troll them, make them angry, you know? Needless to say, I didn't fool any of them, and I was just left feeling a little silly for trying to trick them. Hey, thanks for watching this video. What were some video game hoaxes that you guys believed as children? If I get enough responses, I'll talk about them in part 2. Like if you did, and consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.